Welcome back to some top-level StarCraft and/or the inevitable takeover of the machines. Google's Deepmind project has finally released its summary of its exploits this year in StarCraft 2 with its project AlphaStar. You might remember the original presentation where Deepmind was developing a deep learning artificial intelligence that would attempt to learn StarCraft 2, and the last version of it would compete on the European ladder. Now, this is because Deepmind is based out of the UK, and the European ladder makes the most sense, because StarCraft 2 doesn't have the technology for land, but it does have the technology for artificial intelligence, at least. So, what is the result? What is the result? I'm going to spoil it. Grandmaster League as Terran, Zerg, and Protoss. Now, since it started as Protoss, well, it's obvious for humans, but maybe interesting for those more knowledgeable about artificial intelligence. But since it started as Protoss, that was the race it had the most success with. It won the most games, had the highest MMR at the end of its ladder exploits. And you might be like, well, don't people play weird if they know they're up against AlphaStar? If you remember, players opted into playing against AlphaStar, but that by no means guaranteed it. If you were in the Silver League and you thought you played against AlphaStar, I have to break it to you, probably not. It was playing under a barcode at Master and GM levels, especially in this final form iteration. This is the third round of tests that they did via the ladder, and this is when AlphaStar reached Grandmaster, and they've anonymized the replays, though some of them have been leaked. Some players were like, I'm pretty sure I played against AlphaStar. These replays prove they were correct. But in the top left is a Grandmaster Zerg here on King's Cove. And the bottom right is AlphaStar, who is restricted in many ways, both in actions per minute. We're not trying to prove that an artificial intelligence can do more calculations faster or split Marines at 50,000 actions per minute. What the project is attempting to do is prove that an artificial intelligence can teach itself to play at or above the level of a huge percentile of people. And reaching Grandmaster League means it is above 99.8%. But also still can't micro its Reaper. Come on. I gotta... So that is where we are. You can check out the other videos. Now, I'm casting these a little bit before getting on a plane to BlizzCon. They released it the day before. I'm a human. I can't do everything at once. But I do want to do a more in-depth video, really going into the details, because I'm not qualified or very knowledgeable about it, but I hope to become more so by the time we break it down further. But before we get further into it, first, say AlphaStar's a noob. He lost a Reaper just like me in the Diamond League. And also, make sure to leave your comments on what I should be looking at and breaking down. And which race did you think AlphaStar was most impressive at? And what kind of things were human and were not? That's okay, wait. I understand that sounds weird. What things reminded you of you, my flawed human player, and what things do you think professional players even, who were quoted in the article as saying, wow, we never actually thought of that before. These are completely new ideas that no human has really considered to be a good strategy. Now here's a classic old school strat. Just run your Hellions in and hope for the best. Nice anti-Hellion micro from our Grandmaster Zerg. A grand total of 3 kills for AlphaStar for a Reaper and 2 Hellions. So that was kind of a waste of money. I'm not entirely convinced this is a wall. AlphaStar with a confusing building setup, but does have 3 command centers. Now AlphaStar learned from a combination of playing against itself or playing with itself, if you would, and also playing on the ladder and learning from humans and learning from a sample size of us, fleshy meatbags. So 4 Hellions doing a little bit better. He's using now. This is a strategy that's super tilting. Speaking as a Zerg player myself, you're not supposed to run those Hellions in. That's dumb. All right, it is widely considered to just be a dumb move. You're gambling that there's not Zerglings, there's not enough Queens. Like, trying to run those Hellions in, you're just hoping they made a mistake. So AlphaStar with the gamble. AlphaStar also going to scan into the main and see, well, the lair start. Maybe is our Zerg player trying to fake him out, or is he just now remembering a lair? That's a bit of a mind game potentially in and of itself. Is building the lair underneath the scan in order to bait your opponent into think, okay, well, I guess your depots will be the safest inside of your own mineral line. Very interesting plays here. AlphaStar trying out for Bronze League heroes, it appears. 3-stem Marines come up, but 3-stem Marines, no matter how well microed, are not going to... Well, a tank's going to help. Honestly, so far, of the 3 races, it does appear it is the least comfortable with Terran. Because the thing is with Terran, because of both the building and production mechanics, Terran players have the most specific way of putting their units and putting their buildings. Okay, so, once again, 3 Marines do not kill like 20 Zerglings. AlphaStar, gonna scan the 3rd. By the way, like, not perfectly on center, but very close. An interesting choice to continue. Also blocking its own mining with a supply depot. There are some things I'm sure are going to open players' minds and be like, huh, we never considered that was a good idea. I, despite my biological upbringing, can confidently say, don't do this. This is dumb. Lower the depot. Let's go to the Alpha Cam and figure... Oh my... Back to my previous point. Terran has the most stark differences. There's a real mapped out way, like, these are the add-ons we get. This is where we put the depots. These are the units we build and how we control them. Because Terran production mechanics are the least forgiving. As a Terran player, if you're a supply block, not only do you have to get unsupply block, but then you also have to start building a unit. You can't just warp in 10 zealots. That was an interesting choice. I'm sorry, I went off the Alpha Cam there for a sec. I think AlphaStar wasn't even paying attention to those Marines there.
Mineral field.
But you get SCV drop as well. Okay, so I gotta admit right now, AlphaStar is looking a lot like a Protoss player who switched to Terran and doesn't exactly know what to do, but has an idea and is kind of freestyling it. 2 tanks on the high ground are going to protect the mineral line, but also help kill a bunch of SCVs that get close to the Zerglings. The double drop is attempting to move in, but AlphaStar is struggling to control it. The 4th command center is being poked and prodded and gnawed at by a single Zergling, but the SCV seems undeterred. Double drop into the main. Stim being used right out of that medevac. A lot of Zerglings are going to be mowed down. The upgrade's +1 to 0-0. Our Grandmaster Zerg struggling when it comes to the upgrade count, but he is getting an infestation pit. Now it's 76 drones. AlphaStar has a higher army supply, and this has a tendency to happen in the mid-game. So Zerg players, as they're building up, they just aren't building as many units. You want to build up your economy, then you build up your army. Whereas Terran is continually pumping up their production and continually building rounds of units because of those production mechanics I talked about earlier. But that's a lot of Marines and 4 tanks in the background. That's not nearly enough banelings to stop this. Hydra's coming up. He's tearing through all the Hydralists in the main. The drop, formerly double drop, tried to come in, but the 4th base is blasted apart. Despite all AlphaStar's shenanigans on the other side of the map and maybe minor miss micros, the crux of the push. Oh no, he unsiege off creep. No, I mean on creep, even worse. Oh, AlphaStar turns what was at almost a total victory. No, where are you going? Come on, get out of there. Get out of there, AlphaStar. Almost a total victory into a trade, and honestly losing 4 tanks, and if he loses these medevacs, possibly a defeat. Zerg is now getting 2-2. The hive is already done, so this was quite a quick hive. At 10 minutes, getting this Tier 3 Ultralisk tech. Now, well, against... So here's an interesting... Oh my god, the spawning pool. Those... Okay, Marines are pretty good. Double drop coming in. Meanwhile, Planetary Fortress helping out. AlphaStar! Disaster. The drops in the main taken out. It's 155 to 120 supply. So against a professional Terran, like if you're looking at a Maru or an Innovation or a Special, then I'd say Ultralisks are not your call. But AlphaStar definitely not demonstrating the level of precise multitasking and micro you'd expect from those top-tier Terrans. The ideas are there, like the double drop, the pushes as the army gets dragged out of position, scanning ahead, looking for creep and units, targeting banelings as well. Great micro. But once again, the precision is not quite... Oh, well, the precision... not quite what you'd expect of a top-level Terran. At the same time, though, our Grandmaster Zerg being incredibly cost-ineffective, he has something of the economy to work with that. And eventually the creep spread expanding all over the left side. Are there any scans ready for the creep? Will we see scans for the creep? We haven't seen incredibly much of that. There have been scans, but let's go to the Alpha Cam. Okay. Super interesting to watch. What? The factory's just gonna be built on the outside? Okay, then. Oh, you don't have enough medevacs for everybody! Oh, God. Who did you... It appears that AlphaStar learned from Special, but Special had way too much soju. So, Special was playing ladder. But, this really does remind me of the style of play of like a TY or a Special. The multi-pronged harass into heavy starport play. But it is just not connecting. At some point, either... Oh my god, somebody get me out of this mess. I'm sorry, medevac. It ain't happening. I don't... God. It's gone from AlphaStar having a significant supply advantage through sheer macro. I gotta appreciate anyone, human or otherwise, who understands that more stuff counters less stuff. But at the same time, you can't just build Marines and throw them into medevacs and then throw those medevacs away like this is the end of Titanic. So, another thing that seems to be... Oh my god. Another thing that seems to be missing is clearing the creep. There's not really... Oh, there's a scan in the center. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to stay on the Alpha Cam a little bit longer before we go back to the Everyone Cam. I keep moving the camera around to see if their AlphaStar's actually scanning. It definitely appears that the APM restrictions here on AlphaStar are making this style very hard to pull off. Like, juggling multiple medevac drops while still producing back at home and trying to do any sort of micro. But here come the Zerg! Liberators are already sieged up. The base holding for now. A very optimistic mule drop. The planetary is broken, but at what cost? Let's go to the Everyone Cam. AlphaStar pulling away. Liberator going to siege up. Tanks in position. Vikings on the deck. This is not the Heart of the Swarm trailer. I do have to say, the micro, well, and macro, just of any of the three races, I think AlphaStar's Terran reminds me the most of a human player. Not like a top-level human. Like of, well, of me on a good day, to be honest, as a sometimes Grandmaster, but definitely not pro. It is pretty uncanny, I will say that. But it appears we're getting to the stage where AlphaStar's like, well, not many anti-air units, but lots of ground units, so I'm going to build a Banshee. Which is something that you can do, potentially. A lot of upgrades here. We got 3-3 on the ground for Zerg, that's it. But Zerg smashing through... Oh, God. The Venn diagram of freedom. The Liberators eviscerate... Well, I don't know if eviscerating is the right word, but absolutely liberating everything. A single Ultra survives. Zerg with, well, as a arguably great man once said, when I am way ahead and I want to lose, I build Ultras. And those Ultra lists taking Zerg from a significant supply lead to dead even now. AlphaStar down on workers, but mules will make up for some of that. We've seen definite mule drops. Only one-ish mining bases right now for AlphaStar. Okay, 1.5 if you include the natural, which we have to. The creep spread super impressive from our Human. And it appears AlphaStar has settled in for the siege. AlphaStar stopped sending out medevac drops or harassment. I haven't seen any liberators go out. It's just been defending the swarm. Oh, these depots are not quite a wall, but the reinforcements will deal with the Zerglings. Did you just shoot your own depot, AlphaStar? I'm pretty sure. We all make mistakes. Banshees being added in, which... Banshees, while they seem like the option, Banshees just don't have the stopping power of the Liberator. They don't have the harassment potential, and they're vulnerable to the same things. They're vulnerable to Corruptors. They're vulnerable to Hydras. In fact, they're much worse against both of those things. So right now, the Banshee additions are like, if you read a strategy guide and had to pick out a unit that did air-to-ground on paper, you'd pick out the Banshee, but in practice, they really don't pay off. The Zerglings walling out the Ultras. Well, they gotta get over the top. They are not chopping the Zerglings. They just have very long arms. Another drop heading out. As some pressure was taken off, AlphaStar begins whatever that was. Another double. Well, these Banshees having a very short and bad day. So, oof. Well, the double drop. It doesn't appear AlphaStar has a plan for winning the game. What it appears is AlphaStar has a plan for not dying. But many times in late game Terran versus Zerg, we see that. We see a plan for not dying. In order to win the game from this point, things like ranged Liberators, Ghosts, Vikings don't really compete with Corruptors very well unless you have a ridiculous amount of them. I'm hard-pressed. I'm hard-pressed to see a way out of this. Like, unless Zerg decides a couple more times to go into the Liberator District, AlphaStar just, he fights like a Terran. I gotta say, like, it appears to have learned from those Terrans on the ladder who love their multi-pronged drops, but just can't quite compete with the late-game Zerg. Here comes the neighborhood. Ultraless Banelings, Zerglings, and Hydras. All the swarm is brought to bear. The Liberators forced away by the Corruptors, and there's nothing left to defend this planetary fortress. It's gone. I still love that the factory is there. That maybe isn't the best rally point. Run away! Oh, I've seen this in the trailer as well. The creep spread is blocking the 5th base from AlphaStar from landing. Our human player, no slouch on that. AlphaStar feeling the pain of a Terran player in the late game. If it could feel pain, of course. Which I assume it can't, unless we really wanted to give it a realistic simulation. In which case, I expect AlphaStar to make a Twitter account and say mildly passive-aggressive things. Speaking for myself. Liberators on the way 5 at a time, and Liberators could be the ticket. With anti-armor missile, they actually have +1 ship weapons. I thought it was +3. +3 ship weapons would give them a chance. +1 is not going to do much, and guess what? Here come the Corruptors. Lings and Banelings. Once again, there's barely anything on the ground. He's trying to fight in the air. Good luck with that. The Banshee's taking pot shots, but they barely kill anything before the SCVs are completely gone. Now it has to beg the question. When does AlphaStar GG? That's it. It's over. The game has been lost. The units were not there. The defenses were not there. It was too sloppy from pretty much start to finish. There were some great moments. The macro was good, but AlphaStar... Now, here's the thing. Okay. One, when does AlphaStar GG? That is an interesting... Is that coded in? Is there deep learning about when is the appropriate time to leave the game? Also, a lot of the mistakes, to be honest, I see AlphaStar making are mistakes you see a lot of like semi-pro players and like grandmaster players making. You've got a lot of commitment into drops, but it just doesn't translate into a game-winning position. Like that, the follow-up push at the 4th base, that was the highlight moment. It's despite all the weird things that happened before it, AlphaStar has been laser-focused on building plenty of units, whereas Zerg was getting a little bit too cute with the harassment, so lost the 4th. But past that point, AlphaStar got a little too cute and started sending drops out everywhere, Marines dying, upgrades on point, but just not coming up with a deadly push again, and allowing Zerg to expand and overwhelm with just brute force. Ultras, Corruptors, there are no spellcasters here. Just Zerg, and way too much of it. Mainlings and Lings and Ultralists, and down it all goes. AlphaStar fighting to less supply than it started with. And no GG. Honestly, I don't know if the chat was stripped out of the replays. But Grandmaster player, the humanity has hope, is the summary. The thing is, I feel like whether it's an artificial intelligence or a human player, you put in 6-8 hours of practice a day for a month or two, and the ideas from AlphaStar were very good. Our Grandmaster Zerg player was more brawn over brains, but had enough brawn to break through what AlphaStar was doing. But this was of the 3 races, and hopefully I release these videos in the right order, but the Terran definitely seemed the weakest. The Zerg was also suffered from the same things. Protoss was the most stable. It's super interesting. I assume it's the same way as humans. Like, you have more games played in any form, whether it's on the ladder or in some sort of internal continual... Well, AlphaStar doesn't have to sleep. And also, it's not limited to playing one game at a time, from my understanding, as we learned at the presentation. But I look forward to breaking it down more. Uncanny in how much it looks like a human player, but also interesting in the ways it doesn't. So what do you think? Does humanity have a chance? What has this proven/disproven? Do you think Deepmind should continue the project further? Or do you think, as they mentioned, it is a proof of concept to branch out into other things? And what points would you like to see me cover in a longer video where I actually try to learn something about artificial intelligence and pretend I have less artificial intelligence myself? And thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe, and you know. All right, and ring the bell. YouTube's big on that. Just ask Google and Deepmind. Please don't demonetize me. Thank you. Good luck. Have fun. Thank you for watching. And, well, we die so humanity survives. Rip my ladder points.